Welcome back. I'm very proud to announce that Leonard Lee is joining our conference. He's an analyst. He's down to earth, and he's gonna tell you his vision on the IoT market. Enjoy his talk.
Next curve.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope that everyone is having a great start to 2021. My name is Leonard Lee. I am the Managing Director and founder of NextCurve, an ICT research and advisory firm that works with some of the leading tech companies on the future of their business. I want to thank Vinky and the team at the Things Industries for inviting me to speak today at the Things Conference 2021. It's an honor and a pleasure. And in this keynote talk, I will be sharing some of my insights into IoT forecasts and the art of inflated expectations based on my 28 years of experience in tech industry research and technology and management consulting. In this session, I will cover the following items. Firstly, I will talk about hype, also known as inflated expectations, and why it is not a good thing. Second, I will go over some of the common mistakes that I see IoT vendors and startups make when using IoT forecasts in support of their businesses and proposals. Finally, I will share some recommendations on how to flatten the hype curve for your business and position it as an IoT enterprise that will survive beyond the peak of the IoT hype. So let's have a chat about hype for a moment. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Some people will argue that hype is a good thing. And I oftentimes hear the argument that it spurs innovation, drives investment in nascent technologies, and brings them into the mainstream. All good stuff, right? Well, it is also fundamentally speculative. It does set what you could argue are the wrong expectations in the market and fosters misguided notions for new entrants and new money chasing IoT gold in the hills. And unfortunately, for market analysts who take on the daunting mission of predicting the market growth and scale of nascent and emerging markets, their numbers are cited quite frequently by marketing teams, PR organizations, and consultancies to generate excitement over the next big thing. And this may or may not be the intent of the industry analyst putting out the forecast, but it is more often than not the intended or unintended use of their numbers. And as many of you who have been in the IoT game for a while, you likely feel that the early lofty promises of the Internet of Things, whether in terms of number of connections, number of modules shipped, or economic impact, are a long time coming. But the good news is that it appears that we are just coming over the peak of inflated expectations. So we can expect to enter a phase of rationalization of the IoT market over the next few years. And the IoT companies that will be left standing are those that manage to get on a flattened hype curve for their business. And this is what you want to do, whether you are thinking about entering in the IoT game or you have been playing with the game for a while. You want to flatten the hype curve for your business by honing into the realities of the moment. First off, you are not exaggerating the market opportunity for yourself, your investors, or your customers. Rather, you are more tuned into the state of the technology, the readiness of the market for your offering, and you are almost more likely to tune into the viable value propositions, products, and services that will resonate with nascent or growing demand in the early phase of the hype cycle and beyond. So let's talk about some of the common mistakes that IoT businesses and startups make using forecasts for their business plans, pitch decks, corporate strategy, go-to-market strategy, and marketing. And to kick this section off, let me start with an all too common scenario that I encounter with many early phase IoT startups, but also surprisingly with established companies looking to pursue new IoT market opportunities. And more often than not, when I review pitch decks, business plans, or speak to an executive team of an IoT concern, they will often lead with one of the more recent forecast numbers floating out there from any number of the research houses and consultancies publishing numbers and insights. So let's take a data point from a forecast that suggests that IoT solutions market will reach 1.6 trillion by 2025. And as the discussion with the startup the pitch review progresses, you start to realize that there's a disconnect between the TAM, or the total addressable market estimate that the company is assuming, and the IoT forecast number they have embraced. And invariably, the TAM number is too high, and there's a lot of ifs that need to transpire from the top line for the top line to happen. But there are other issues. So let's go through the key ones quickly. One of the frequent issues I encounter with startups in particular is that the executive team simply does not understand what is behind the upper bound number they're using to formulate their TAM forecast for their business. IoT is a complicated topic that seems to continually expand in scope. And I would argue it is as cloudy and overloaded a thing as cloud, with quite a bit of double counting and what might be considered extraneous market categories. When you examine the various market reports and forecasts for IoT, you realize that there is a wide range of market definitions and approaches to segmenting and sizing the IoT market. The second issue is that the company simply believes the numbers presented by a forecast, despite studies being of wide-ranging quality. They frequently do not vet the assumptions of the forecast model, or worse, don't know the key assumptions, which most reports provide in addition to the caveats. And this lack of vetting lends to gaps forming in one's business case or pitch deck, especially as it relates to the qualification of the market opportunity and risks. And if you bump into an investor or a board member who knows their stuff, you run the risk of showing them that you didn't do your homework and that you don't know the market you're trying to pursue. And that is a red flag. And finally, you often see companies commingle numbers from different forecasts and studies in order to create a larger-than-life vibe for the market opportunity. And this is typically a red flag for me, as well as the data between forecasts and studies need to be harmonized, which takes quite a bit of effort. And oftentimes markets that startups are trying to pursue are niche and white space, requiring a good deal of work to get from the big high-level numbers to a meaningful sizing for a market segment of interest. And keeping in mind that most forecasts are not defined or segmented in ways that most businesses require. So it is tricky to get good relevant market intelligence and numbers for your business case or inform your strategy and go-to-market plan out of the box. So now let's talk about what you can do to avoid the hurt of the hype and make better use of the plethora of market forecasts and research out there to inform your business plans and go-to-market strategies. So my first recommendation is this: understand the numbers. Invest upfront in conducting a robust market research study to qualify and quantify the IoT opportunity that you are aspiring to pursue. If you don't understand the market, your product, your service, your solution will solve nothing, or at best, you will have a difficult time positioning and getting legs under your business. Make sure you are working with good numbers and avoid forecast data points that go beyond 2 years. There are forecasts that go beyond 5, sometimes 15, 20 years. We don't have AI that good yet, so buyer beware. You have one chance to get it right and a billion ways to get it wrong. Do yourself a favor, give yourself a chance against the odds by doing the homework up front. Number 2, question the numbers and the assumptions. It is important to speak to the analysts who come up with the forecast that you use to make sure their assumptions are sound and that they clarify the assumptions for your needs. And if you are working with some of the big firms or boutiques, they typically provide this service as part of a subscription. So take advantage of it. However, don't accept numbers because they came from a notable brand at brand value. There are very few experts on white space markets, so figure out the right questions to ask and get them answered. And speaking of right questions, another thing that I highly recommend is to get an independent industry expert who can kick the tires on the numbers and the market assumptions that you are considering subscribing to for your business. And look for someone who knows the market, knows the technology, has some experience in digital transformation, and understands the industry verticals you are targeting, and can provide synthesized cross-domain insight and guidance. And they are hard to find, but they are out there. Also, be conservative and consistent. While it is tempting to take the upper bound number of a forecast, do yourself a favor and don't do it. Also, make sure that your market intelligence and the numbers you are taking to heart for your business are reasonable. Also, make sure you have quality data tailored for the market niche or segment that you are targeting for your business, and that it isn't a collection of cut and paste from Google search. Make sure the dots in your market research connect. Otherwise, you're really starting off on the wrong foot. And many of you in the audience probably have an engineering background and love to build things and would much rather assume the cool stuff sells. Let's get to building cool stuff, right? But rarely do things sell themselves without a market. And in the early days of a technology hype cycle, there is a heavy reliance on innovators who are able to shape end market demand with compelling value propositions and demonstrated ability to deliver. So have clarity of the state of the market and the key trends shaping its future, even in the midst of hype and market disruptions that we face today. It will increase your chances of success by setting you off in a better direction rather than a bad direction. And we need you because forecasts don't make the future of IoT. You do. And once again, I'd like to thank the folks at the Things Conference 2021 for inviting me to speak to you today. I hope this keynote talk was informative and will help you take better advantage of marketing intelligence or market intelligence and forecast for the benefit of your startup and enterprise. Enjoy the rest of the conference and hope to connect with you on LinkedIn or Twitter. Feel free to reach out to me. I will be happy to hear from you. And also join me at www.next-curve.com to continue this discussion. Good luck and all the best in 2021.